had a lot of stressful events in my personal life. I had a lot of things going on that were triggering my nervous system. And now looking back, I can see I had symptoms already. I had fatigue in a way. I didn't call it chronic fatigue, but I was asleep and wake up tired, and this wasn't normal. I was going to the doctors already, and they were like, everything's normal. So I was kind of feeling like a few. Thing that I also learned with you guys is that you don't have to be perfect. And then symptoms in 2, 3, 4 weeks, they just disappeared. Nothing was triggered. I was ice skating for like half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. That was some cardio, something new, something that was risky. Nothing happened. I went back home, and I was next week after that was junior. I did it. I didn't know I was ready for physical activity. I haven't done any exercise in like a year now. And he was like, I told you were ready. So sometimes, most of the time, you're going to feel fearful because of what you lived.
How's it going, Thrivers? Miguel here from CFS Recovery. In this video, we have Maria, who was actually on the channel before, but we're doing a Thriver update interview, a recovery transformation update, just to see what she's been up to, see how much she's been crushing it. The reason we do these is a lot of people see these recovery stories and they think, did they fully recover? Like, are they just in remission? Does life actually continue to get better, or do they slide backwards? And so that's what these are for. Maria is from Toronto. She found us a couple years ago. That's when she started using our recovery system. After dealing with symptoms for about 6 months, she was pretty severe, mainly housebound, sometimes even bedbound, more than 60 different symptoms. And she's doing great now, and still doing great compared to our last conversation a while ago. Rock climbing, living life, just thriving. So Maria, you want to quickly reintroduce yourself to the people on this channel again?
Yeah, so I'm so excited to be here, Miguel. The reason why I wanted to join this call is exactly what you just said. Like, people think that you will never recover. That's exactly how I felt back then, especially because doctors told me like nothing was wrong with me. All the tests kept coming okay, everything was normal, but I wasn't normal at all. I had horrible, debilitating symptoms. And at one point, I was housebound when I found you. I was at my worst. And today, I'm just like living life as normal as anyone would do. I would say even better than before. And this program kind of was like the foundation for my recovery. It was the most important thing in the first few months of my recovery process because it helped me understand what was going on in my brain, what was going on with my nervous system, with my body, how the symptoms were not only physical, but also emotional, psychological, and how I had to deal or respond to make progress. And the way you guys laid out the progress system, or how we have to face our fears to go back to life, it's really what triggered my recovery for sure. And I was in the academy for 4 or 5 months, I think. But after I left the academy, I kept like implementing the same things that I learned with you guys. And that's where I am right now. I'm just back to working. I'm back to exercising. I have a new hobby, which is rock climbing, which is really physical, really intense. I do that twice a week. I do strength training. I go out with friends. Like, I'm living a normal life. 100%.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And it's always so cool to reconnect with thrivers, um, you know, after the first interview, because I know even after that first interview, there's so much room to grow and, fulfill your potential. That's really just the beginning. And even after this video, the growth is going to keep on happening. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
really exciting.
exactly how I feel. Like, it never stops. It's never ending. I think I remember the first interview that I did with you was when I was 3 months into the program. And by that time, my achievements, or like my biggest goal, was to be able to go out of the house. And I was going to my doctor's appointment, taking the subway. And I remember that was like
I remember that. Yeah.
unbelievable. That was incredible. I was taking the subway in Toronto to go to my doctor's appointment and back without triggering symptoms, or sometimes triggering symptoms, but more manageable ones. And now I'm just looking back, and I'm like doing all this stuff that I thought I was not going to be able to live or experience these things that I'm doing right now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So tell us a little bit more about what life looks like now. You mentioned it a little bit. You're working, you're doing rock climbing. What does a typical week look like for you?
Well, I'm working 4 to 5 days a week. I'm not completely full time, but that's a decision. Like I could be working full time if I wanted to. I just learned I was kind of like addicted to working before in my unbalanced life, and now in my balanced life, I'm prioritizing other things. That's also another thing that I learned with you guys and with your program. Like, what are your priorities? What is it that you want to do? And that is aligned to your principles. So right now, work is not one of the main ones, but I do work 30, 35 hours a week. I could work more if I wanted to, but I rather spend that time doing something else. So I do workout 4 times a week, pretty intense workouts, strength training, rock climbing. This is something that I picked up like 7 months ago, so it's kind of new. But the progress has been amazing and it's been super fast. So it's been a journey, and I'm really excited about that. Also, I've been socializing, especially now during the summer. I'm like super busy. I went camping the other day, and I remember I sent this to Krista through Instagram. Like, I went on a 4 or 5 day camping trip. I can't believe I'm doing this. 2 years ago, I was bedbound, and
Yeah.
now I'm like doing all this hiking and stuff, which is really intense for the body and the nervous system. And I did just fine. So I'm doing that. I'm socializing a lot. I don't know if you remember my case, but one of my biggest triggers for my nervous system was people. So every time that I interacted, talked to people, socialized for more than 30 minutes, an hour, whatever, I had extreme intense symptoms. And now I just can socialize with multiple number of people, like groups, one-on-one, it doesn't matter. I'm just all the time socializing. And I guess the other thing that is not as noticeable is that I'm so grateful to be alive. Like every day I wake up and my state of mind is just so grounded, and it's like I see the world and my life through a different perspective. That's how I feel. And I guess some people, when they have like near death experiences, feel the same way. Even
Yep.
though our illness was different, it sort of triggered the same effect in my brain or in my life. Like, I am grateful every day for being alive. And I look at the trees and I just smile. Like, I'm so happy to be experiencing this life, even with the troubles and the problems and everything that's going on around the world. I'm just so excited to be here and to be able to walk and to be able to go outside and work, Like, sometimes people are like, oh, I don't want to go to
Yeah.
work. Like, no, I actually want to go to work. Like, there was a time in which this was not possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And
just
that wasn't too
amazing.
long ago. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
only a couple of years ago. Like, I remember my stuff. Like, I remember being in the hospital almost as clearly as if it was last week. But now for me, that was 7 years ago,
Yeah, it was
which
a long
it's
time.
crazy how time flies. It feels in my brain like it was 2 weeks ago or last week because
I
it's
feel
right
the
there.
same way. Like today, before I had this call, I was like remembering how my life was 2 years ago and how completely different it's been. And I sort of remember something that you and probably Junior said to us in the early stages of the program is like, one day you're going to look back and you're going to be grateful for this experience. And I know right now with all the symptoms that you have, you're not feeling this way, but your life is going to change so much that you will be thankful or grateful for what you went through, because it's just going to change how you perceive the world, how you see life, how your relationships with people. And that's exactly what happened to me. Like, the person I am now would not be possible without this experience. and
Mhm.
and I don't know, I guess I learned a lot of things in your program that I still apply in my normal life. So whenever something happens and it's out of my control, I'm like, 3 4 I have to be in my 3 foot world. There's nothing I can do. I can't
Yeah,
control the
exactly.
situation. I can allow myself to feel sad, to feel angry, to feel stressed, but then I have to respond well. Like, what is it that I can do? And my response is the only thing that is in my control, right? So in a way, my nervous system is actually more balanced now, and I have less symptoms that I than what I had before long COVID. I've always had overactive nervous system since I was a child. that's something that I learned with you guys as well. Like, oh, maybe this migraine, maybe this IBS, maybe this allergies were overreactive nervous system, and it was. And now, for example, I suffer from allergies during springtime all my life, and now I don't have allergies. I suffer from severe migraines all my life, and after long COVID and all this process, I don't have migraines.
Yeah, yeah. So the quality of life is better, and that's the ultimate goal with everybody who we work with. But the biggest thing, actually, it's like that saying: give somebody a fish, you feed them for a day; teach them to fish, you feed them for life. The
Exactly.
whole goal here is to teach you guys how to self-regulate your nervous system and not have to feel like you need this safety net, with us for the rest of your life. It's like maybe you need it for a little bit just to learn the ropes and stuff and learn to trust your own body. But once you start to understand the stuff and become teammates with your nervous system, you can take that moving forward and bring it into all these other paths of life, all these different scenarios. Because at the end of the day, responding well to symptoms, that's very transferable to just responding well to life. Very, very applicable, you
Yeah,
know?
for sure. And something that I also learned with you guys is that you don't have to be perfect. So
Yes.
when I was in the program, I was really stressed out that I wasn't responding 100% perfectly the 100% of the time, right? Like I wasn't perfect at responding on my symptoms. And I remember Krista and everyone saying, like, you don't have to be perfect. Like if you respond 1% better this time, your brain is still going to learn and it's going to change the outcome. So for example, now after all this information that I have, I feel like I have a PhD in neuroscience, and I'm
Yeah,
sure you feel that
exactly.
way too. Like we learn so much, and even so, I still make mistakes. Sometimes I get stuck into like spirals of like
Yeah.
rumination, worry, stress, whatever happens in life, right? And then I start getting anxious, or my sleep is a little bit off, or whatever. And then I notice, oh, I didn't respond well to this situation. What can I do to change that now? And as soon as I'm aware of that, my symptoms just disappear. They just vanish in the next few days. So it's still applicable. Like you don't have to be perfect in order to recover. You don't have to be perfect for the rest of your life. As soon as you notice and you're aware, just change your response and your brain is going to do the rest without you interfering, basically. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And, there's this probably this idea, especially in the beginning of recovery, that you have to do all this work for recovery, which you do in the beginning. It is a lot of manual, you know, rewiring, a lot of redirecting thoughts, but
Yeah.
it's not always going to be that difficult. It's only in the beginning, but then you start to teach your brain what it should be doing, and then it starts to do it on its own, and it self regulates. Now, every now and then, yeah, when you're reintegrating back into life and you're adding a lot to your plate, you may have a few blips of some symptoms here and there pop up on the radar. But, it's just feedback from the nervous system, and you just slow down a little bit. You handle it like you would any AP. And the interesting thing is when you're at that functional level, what those APs look like is, maybe a little bit of symptoms here, a little bit of fatigue, but you could still function. Like, you could still drive around if you want. You could still go see friends. It's just you're a little bit more tired or sluggish for a
Yeah.
few days.
I would say I haven't had a proper AP, and when I mean a proper AP, is something that is so debilitating that I cannot live, like go to work, go to the gym, like keep on going with my life in probably a year, more than a year and a half.
Yeah.
Um, Last year, I was really nervous, and I remember talking to Junior, like, I'm going in a 2.5 month trip with my mom to the United States. I have to like take a bunch of planes. I have to socialize. But that time, like a year and 2 months ago, I wasn't socializing that much. I still had a lot of symptoms coming up just because of talking to people and being in like public spaces. And this trip in particular, I couldn't control who I was with for how long. I was staying with relatives and friends, like doing a lot of socializing, doing a lot of walking during the summer. I went to New York, Miami, Texas. I took like a bunch
Wow.
of days. Yeah. And I was with my
Holy.
mom, and I was like, I can't control. And he was like, you're ready. You're ready for this. I know you don't feel like you're going to be ready for this trip in a few months, but you're going to be ready. And I had no choice. And I went into the trip with so much fear, and I had some symptoms like pop up here and there. And then the only constant symptom was insomnia. So I was still taking medication for insomnia, and I had it for like the 2 whole months that the trip lasted. And then I came back to Toronto, and the week after, the insomnia disappeared forever. So
Mhm.
sometimes when you push yourself in these stages where you're more functional and you go through this long APs or like symptoms come up and they come up and they come up, but you still keep on going. As soon as you like go through the other side, they just will disappear. And I haven't had insomnia since. So it was interesting because otherwise I wouldn't have done it. But pushing myself to the limits of like facing that fear just made the symptom disappear somehow. And it was interesting. It's the same thing that happened when I started working a year ago. So I started working 4 hours a day, 3 times a week, which for most people is like, oh, that's nothing. But my nervous system was like, oh, you're talking to people, you're in customer service
It's a
now.
lot.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a lot. And it was 4 hours a day. And I kept coming home with my muscles just really tight. So I noticed my nervous system was like reacting to it. But I would do like breath work and just like telling myself it was going to be okay. And then 3 months later, it was Christmas season, which in retail is like crazy. And I was working 5 days a week for 40 hours plus, and nothing happened.
That's
So I
crazy.
just kept on
Yeah.
going, even though I had symptoms when I first tried things. I just kept on going, reassuring my brain that everything was fine, responding well to the few symptoms that come up here and there, and then they just disappeared. And now I work as normal, like 40 hours a week, 30 hours a week. So this is to say that progress, it's gonna come, but you also have to face your fears. You have to like push yourself and feel the symptoms. Otherwise, there's no way of rewiring. And I learned that from you too. Like you have to trigger a certain amount of symptoms to be able to tell yourself that it's okay and to rewire your brain, and then symptoms will just vanish, right? Um,
Mhm.
but this wasn't as easy when I started the program. I was terrified
Yeah.
of symptoms, and it took
It's
me
terrifying in the beginning.
brave. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, you shared so many golden nuggets over there, especially the reintegrating back into life part, because I feel
Yeah,
like that's where some people can get stuck
for sure.
because you can start to get comfortable with that current level of capacity. We see a lot of people, they're right there, they're right below that thriving health line, and they're functional, they could do things, and the mindset starts to kick in of, wow, this is actually quite nice. This is the first time I kind of feel normal in so long,
Yeah.
especially people who had this a long time. It's like, do I really want to keep increasing and risk these adjustment periods? I don't like the discomfort because I dealt with it for so long. So I'm good coasting here. And that's okay sometimes. Like I've had times where I coasted for a few months, 2, 3, 4 months, where I'm not really pushing myself. I'm just kind of enjoying the view from this level of capacity. But then you start to, I guess, as natural humans, we just want more and more. It's like, I
Yeah.
want to be able to do that thing. Let's add that. And then there's some resistance to getting there. It's like old symptoms start to pop up that you thought were gone forever. And that's where you have to really bring it back to the basics. So for you, was that how it was? It's like really bringing it back
You
to the
just
basics,
described
right?
perfectly what happened to me and what I feel like happens to most people. So I talked about this trip that I took last year, last summer. Before that, I was already functional. It had been like 8 to 9 months that I was in the academy and doing the work and whatnot. And I was able to go grocery shopping. I could go out, take the subway. Like I was living a semi
Yeah.
functional life. I could see a couple of friends, like socialize with 2 or 3 people at a time. And I was comfortable there. Like I was like, okay, I'm getting my life back. Things are starting to look normal, but I was still pretty much like not working, not doing anything significant with my life. But I was like cooking, cleaning, that kind of stuff. And that was unbelievable. Like that was unimaginable like just 6 months ago. So I was like coasting. And then I had to take this trip. Like I had the flights already booked. I had to go home. I had to go to Colombia, then to the United States, then to like all this. stops during the trip, and then I had to go back here. And it was 2.5 months of intense activity and intense symptoms. Like the insomnia was nonstop, and I couldn't do anything about it. But I was coasting before. And then I had to like accept I had to do this. It's already booked, it's already paid for. And I think if I wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't be here today. Like I would have done it slower and slower as
Yeah.
possible because I was so afraid. And what that experience taught me is that sometimes you have to go for it and push the limits a little bit. You're allowed to coast for a while and feel
Yeah.
comfortable with the capacity that you had at the moment. But then, if you really want to get your life back, you have to push it. So, my next step after I came back was like, okay, I need to get a job. Like, if I was able to be like around people 24/7 and have insomnia and still go like I don't know, walking in Texas heat and whatever, I can have a job, at least a part-time job. And I need the money. Like our savings are gone, right? And if I wouldn't have done that, like I wouldn't have said like I'm ready to go back to work. And I wasn't. In a way I wasn't because as soon as I got this job, I started to trigger some symptoms. But at the same time I was like, I know I can do this. And then symptoms in 2, 3, 4 weeks, they just disappeared and my capacity just increased so much in like 3 months of working that I was like, huh, interesting. So I need to push it a little bit more and be brave. So by December, I was like, okay, I really need to go back to like exercise. And a friend of mine was already rock climbing. I was like, this looks interesting. And I tried it. And of course, rock climbing is going to be like crazy on your nervous system because you have
Yeah.
to face a lot of fears, height being one of those, like falling. Your nervous system is like in hyperdrive. And I triggered a few symptoms, but to my surprise, they were really mild. So I was like, oh, interesting. And I just figured out like if I kept on doing it, the symptoms were going to disappear. That's exactly what happened. So if I want to say to people who are watching these interviews, like your symptoms are not going away by you coasting or by you not being brave or just resting. You still have to trigger them, and you are going to learn how. And for me, this program was like the foundation of how to trigger symptoms, how to feel comfortable with what you're triggering for it to be manageable, right? And then just responding well, which is the
Yeah.
science of what you teach, basically.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
And even with the triggering symptoms, I always saw it as it's just the symptoms, they're just a byproduct of any kind of increased activity. So I just knew that anything I would do, if it was more than I was used to doing, it would come with it.
Yeah.
There's a price to pay for the capacity that you will earn.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a kind of negative thing, but not really. Like you have to work for it, right? You almost have to earn trust back with your body. And in order to unlock that level of, let's say if you were in bed or if you were housebound for 6 months, you're going to have to earn your capacity back and show your brain that it's okay to go outside. It's okay to walk to the mailbox or walk down the street, walk in the mall, because it will test you. You're going to try to do those things and it's going to say, are you really ready for this level? But it's not going to tell you that. It's going to give you symptoms. But you need to be, I guess, aware enough to interpret those symptoms as just feedback from the nervous system, as almost like a test, right? Doesn't mean just if you're at that level, don't just blast through them. Like, slow down a little bit, give it some time. But, someone who's more functional, like the level you were at when you went on that, multi-month trip, you'd be surprised at how much you actually have in the tank and how resilient the body is to adapt because it's like you could increase activity, you could go from like here to here, and then that triggers some adjustment periods. You don't have to drop all the way back to here. You could just
Yeah.
slow down a little bit or even sometimes kind of maintain, and then your body will adjust accordingly. It's
Yeah, that's
really
exactly what happened in that trip. I had really strong insomnia, so I was taking sleeping pills to sort of like get through that. But my fear was like, is this gonna trigger POTS again, which was one of my main symptoms, like tachycardia, like crazy by just
yeah.
like walking 2 steps. And I was like, doing more stop. I was still getting insomnia, but nothing else was being triggered. That was the one symptom. So I was like, oh, it's interesting. It's been 1 week, it's been 2 weeks, it's been 3 weeks since I've been doing this, and nothing else is coming up. It's just insomnia. So that gave me like a little bit of like, I guess, strength, physical, emotional, mental, to just keep on going. And there was no turning back. Like I was stuck there with my mom, my family, my
Yeah.
friends, and nothing worse happened. Like I was sort of expecting more symptoms, and then nothing happened. So when I came back, I was like, okay, I'm ready to go back to work. Like I was postponing, I was sort of like procrastinating this decision because I thought I wasn't ready. And that's something really common when you're recovering, always thinking that you're not there yet. And the coaches are like, you're there, like you are able to do this. I remember one time I was like 3 months into the program, and I really wanted to go ice skating. I live in Toronto, so we have like really cold winters. And I've never done ice skating. So I was like, this is for sure going to trigger some symptoms because it's something new, it's something risky. I don't know how to ice skate. It's going to feel awkward. It's going to be really triggering for my nervous system. And I was like in a call, and I was, Junior, do you think I'm ready? And he was like, yeah, just go for it and tell me how it goes next week. And I was like, okay, I'm not sure, but I did it. And to my surprise, nothing was triggered. I was ice skating for like half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. That was some cardio, something new, something that was risky. Nothing happened. I went back home, and I was, next week after that was Junior. I did it. I didn't know I was ready for physical activity. I haven't done any exercise in like a year now. And he was like, I told you were ready. So sometimes, most of the time, you're going to feel fearful because of what you lived. The symptoms are so intense. And I know when I say what I've been through, people are like, oh, you didn't really have CFS. It only lasted 6 months. You didn't really have long COVID. No, I was bedbound. I was having
Yeah.
really severe symptoms. The only thing that I was lucky at is that I didn't give up when doctors told me like you're gonna be like this the rest of the life of your life. And I started Googling, and then I found Rayland, and then I found you, and I was like, these people are saying you can recover. I'm just gonna listen to them. And that's the only reason why it took me 6 months to start my recovery process. And for other people, it has been years or whatever. But I feel like everyone can recover. The only thing that I was lucky at, it was the timing, and that I was open-minded enough to like listen to the people who have recovered. But I pretty much had all the
Yeah.
symptoms, all the
Oh,
symptoms, fatigue, tachycardia, really, really bad symptoms that kept me housebound. And I know I
oh, you got lucky.
think
You
that
got
there
lucky you found us first. You got really lucky you found us first, that you didn't end up on some, like, Reddit for dark Facebook
Oh,
group.
no, 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 I
Oh,
did. I
oh, you
did.
did?
And
Oh,
yeah, the CFS, all that, that said, like, you can never recover. People who are actually, I've always been more science oriented. So that's one of the things that attracted me. Like, it was more attractive of your program, like, it was more interesting to me, I guess. It's like science based. You guys explain a lot of things about the brain. But I was following some people with CFS that also happen to be like in the science world, and they're like, no, you can never recover. I had this for 10 years. This is all brain retraining doesn't work. It's like, don't believe in that stuff. And I also went to Reddit. So I had all of that fear too. But at the same time, what am I going to do? Like, am I
yeah.
just going to accept this? And I started finding through Raylan's channel more and more people who have recovered. And I was like, these people don't know each other. And they're telling the exact same story. So that for me was kind of like empirical proof that something's going on, and I need to find out how is it going to work for me. So
Mhm.
that's how I came with the, okay, I need to join this academy.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, there's just too many recovery stories on, like, our channel or Raylan's channel for them to
Yeah,
be paid actors. That's a lot of paid actors, if
exactly.
we're faking it. But yeah, let's dive even deeper into what you did experience. Because yeah, people hear this stuff and they hear, wow, wow, she's just a normal person. She's great. She's killing it. Like, there's no way she was ever sick. So if you guys haven't watched that video, where somewhere in the corner of this video we'll pop it up, click on that. Go watch that first interview video. But even prior to that, yeah, maybe just tell us a little bit more about those first 6 months, right? Because you dealt with 60 plus symptoms. You were like
Yeah.
bedridden sometimes. Tell us about that.
So what happened is that before I caught COVID on New Year's Eve 2022, and that was my first infection. But my story goes way back. Like I had so much fear of COVID, and I think that was for me in my personal story. That was also a trigger on why this happened to me. I had so much fear around COVID. I knew that long COVID existed. I knew of some symptoms of long COVID. I've seen interviews, TikTok, like information around. So I was really fearful of the virus itself and also of like the consequences. And also, unfortunately, I had people close to me dying of long COVID or what we believe was consequences of long COVID. So this is a huge part for me because fear generates in your brain. And then, well,
Yeah.
everything's connected, right? So I was already triggering my nervous system. Also, during the past 4 years before I caught this infection, I had a lot of stressful events in my personal life. Like my grandma died. I moved to Canada from Argentina, so it was really stressful. I had a lot of things going on that were triggering my nervous system. And now looking back, I can see I had symptoms already. I had fatigue in a way. I didn't call it chronic fatigue, but I was sleep. I would
Yeah.
go to sleep and wake up tired, and this wasn't normal. I was going to the doctors already, and they were like, everything's normal. So I was kind of feeling like a few
There were
alarms.
signs.
Yeah,
There were
like
definite
few
signs.
signs of like your nervous system is in overdrive, but I didn't know at the time. I'm the typical type A personality, overachiever, workaholic. Like I was all of that. So I never stopped, and I never knew what balance was, and I never knew how to rest, unfortunately. So that's like what was happening before. And I suffered from migraines, constant migraines, IBS issues, really intense, allergies, a lot of things that now I know were connected to the nervous system. So that was kind of like the backdrop. And then on New Year's Eve, I caught this virus and I was completely terrified. It was my first infection, and from day one, it was really bad. It was not like a cold. I was feeling really bad. Something weird started to happen in my body. I felt like long COVID was triggered right away in the first 1 to 2 days. For some people, they just get a mild infection and then the symptoms comes later. For me, it was like right away. I think it was partly because of the fear that I had. My nervous system was already super sensitive to this virus. And I started getting tachycardia right away. And 1, 2 weeks go by. My test, they came back like normal, so I don't have COVID anymore. But I started feeling really weird. I felt a lot of inflammation in my brain, like my brain was bigger than my head. I
Yeah.
started
Felt that too.
cardia. Yeah, definitely there was some inflammation left over from the infection. Doctors were like, yeah, this is normal. And I was like, I don't know, it feels like my brain is bigger than my head. Like I feel a lot
Swollen, right?
pressure.
It felt like swollen. That it felt like that
Exactly.
for me.
Yeah. I started to get tachycardia. That was the first symptom and one of my main symptoms. It was POTS. So every time that I would stand up to go to bathroom, it was 150, 160 beats per minute. I started to lose weight. I'm quite petite and small, and I've always been thin and skinny, but I lost like 10, 12 kilograms, which is around 20 pounds. And I was really, really skinny and losing weight. Like in the first 2 months, I lost a lot of weight. So something was not up. I would lose my breath really quickly. And I would get rashes. The first few months were like I had allergic reactions to a lot of things. And then it all went downhill for that. Like I started to get pain, small nerve neuropathy, which is like feeling electricity in your limbs, my
Yeah.
legs, my neck. I will feel electricity going in my brain, like inside my brain. This is really weird to describe, but it like zaps in my brain. I don't know how to describe it. I couldn't listen to music. I was sensitive to light. My worst, I wasn't able to look at the screen, read anything. Whenever I try to do any cognitive activity, I will get like a burning sensation of my skull, which is really
I
weird.
know that's crazy because I had that exact thing. It's like it
Yeah,
was burning. It's like it felt
yeah.
hot. And I'd
It
feel it.
felt
I'm like,
hot,
"What's
like
that?"
my scalp was on fire, And it
Yeah.
was triggered by reading, which I know it sounds insane, but it happened to me. I will also get I don't know if it was MCAS, but I was having definitely like allergic reactions to food and some medicines. Yeah, I was having like a lot of allergic reactions to things. And then my body was just in shutdown. I think it's called Raynaud's. My circulation was not
Yeah.
great. So my gums and my eyelids and my hands and my feet were all pale, like if I was dying. So no circulation at all whatsoever on my limbs. Um, well, tachycardia was insane. And then the worst started to happen for me was the worst body jolts and adrenaline rushes. I would describe it as having a panic attack times 100. I would just feel like my nervous system will trigger panic attacks over anything and everything. So I couldn't
Mhm.
sleep. That's when insomnia started, and that just kept getting worse and worse. I was obsessed with tracking my symptoms, so I had like a spreadsheet, and I had more than 60 symptoms. That's how I know I had more than 60 symptoms. And when I started the academy, the first thing you told me were like, "No, you have to stop tracking your symptoms. You have to let it go. Don't pay attention. Don't hyperfixate on things." So this is what I can remember now, and it may not sound as bad, but it was completely debilitating. I was not living a life. I couldn't go outside. Anything on the outside world would trigger intense symptoms for me. Even talking to people or just like stepping outside and hearing like all the sound and noise from like everyday life, right? So
Mhm.
that was kind of it. And fatigue, of
Mhm.
course, I have fatigue.
Yeah.
That was another one. Yeah.
It's a wild journey. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when you mentioned that you had 60 plus symptoms, I also had, yeah, it was about 60 plus symptoms. I just stopped counting after that. I remember I had a whole page of notes and bullet points, and
Same.
I I remember doing this test. Um, yeah, it was like with a naturopath or something. And then they were like, "Okay, check off this box if you have the symptom and what level." And it was a scale of 1 to 5 or something, and I was like, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. And at the end, I'm like, basically this whole sheet, I have every single symptom in the book,
Same.
uh, that they had on the page, and I'm like, "Okay, what's wrong with me? Something is
Yeah.
definitely wrong with me." And obviously they say, "Yeah, you might have adrenal fatigue or something. We'll give you supplements." Didn't fix it.
And it was
Uh,
probably true. Like I
yeah.
guess my adrenals were not working fine. I'm not saying this is whole because when you hear people talking about this and they say, "Oh, it's psychosomatic," they think it's like hypochondria, like you're making it up. People really don't understand that these are actual real symptoms and that there are physiological changes in your body that are creating the symptoms. These are real physical symptoms. So I'm pretty sure my adrenals were not working. There was something going on in my brain. I will never know because the CT scan, everything came back normal. But there was something really wrong. And what I want to mention is that besides all of that, those physical symptoms, the psychological ones were really intense as well. So this is something
Yeah.
that a lot of people go through: depression, suicidal thoughts, the realization, the personalization. I would also have like vision problems that I've heard you had too. So sometimes I would feel like I didn't know how close or how far things were. Like my
Yeah.
vision was not
Depth.
working properly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your depth perception and also, like, I guess, the sharpness, like, I
Yeah,
couldn't focus in on things.
blurry. Everything
Yeah.
sometimes gets so blurry. Like if I close my eyes for too long and then I open them, like my eyes had problems like focusing.
Yeah, also was twisting and zooming in. This is really weird.
It
It's
was really
really, like,
bizarre. I for sure was convinced my brain was not working properly. It was never going to work again. But what I can tell you right now is my cognitive abilities. I can read, I can write, I can scroll in my phone for hours. I can work in the computer. I can do all this stuff. But it took me this past 2 years to get to this point because my nervous system
yeah.
is just not accepting any type of cognitive activity as well.
Yeah, anything was triggering, right? And it's so interesting having these conversations, especially now that, I've been out of the trenches for quite a while. You've been out of the trenches for a while. And now when we talk about it, you've closed the chapter on CFS when you can actually talk about these things. And it's not really an emotional thing. Like you can talk about the symptoms and the rough times, but you've taken so much time to reflect on it and understand it, but most importantly, learn from it to become better, that you don't really see it as this traumatic thing. It's almost
Yeah.
like this gift in a
Yeah,
way.
but it took me a while, to be honest.
Yeah,
It took me probably the last year to like understand the trauma of it, like what we went through. This is real. It The recovery happened so fast
I
that
know.
sometimes,
Your mind, you
like
need some
it
time for your
feels
mind to
like
catch.
last year, right? And
Yeah, yeah. So
so
yeah,
it took
like,
me a little bit of time of like being able to have this conversation with you, to be able to be willing to help people, maybe to start like thinking about like, am I going to do something with all this knowledge? Am I going to participate maybe in your group, like a Facebook group, and give advice
yeah,
to people? Because for some time it was still triggering. Like I didn't want to know anything. Like I'm living my normal life. Like I don't want to think about CFS. I don't want to think about the symptoms. And I think that's a trauma response, and it's perfectly fine. But as time passes and you process it, now I can talk about it without any problem whatsoever. Like I can just be grateful that I'm not
mhm.
there anymore. And I just want to give people hope that this is possible. This is sort of like the message that I want to convey today. Like it is possible to recover.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And with these conversations, they're a lot lighter. They're a lot more positive as well. Because I know um, a lot of times when you're in the trenches, all you're thinking about is the symptoms and the flare ups and adjusting periods, how you're going to get to the next level, how you're going to make it to next week or next month. The future it's unknown because the symptoms can be so unpredictable. But
Mhm.
I always say to people, no matter how long they've been sick for or how severe they were or are, that at some point this is all going to feel kind of like a bad dream. Like in the blink of an eye, this chapter of CFS will be closed. Even though it feels like forever right now, it feels like there is nothing beyond this illness because you're trying everything. It's not working. At some point, once you're on the other side of this, you'll look back and be like, wow, did that really happen? Did that
Yeah.
really happen? And with the coaches, we talk about it all the time. Sometimes on calls, we're just hanging out. We're like, oh, remember that symptom? Do you guys used to get that? Oh, yeah, remember those times when you'd wake up in the morning or in the middle of the night and you'd be in a panic? We have this joke that there's like these shadow people because we used to get sleep paralysis a
Oh
lot.
yeah.
And we're like, you guys remember those shadow people? And they're like, oh, yeah, I remember those shadow people. And it just stuff that you can't really relate to with other people unless somebody's been through the illness. But it also becomes not so serious and heavy as a topic the more you're separated in time from that and the more understanding you have from it. It takes some time to work through that, and I'm glad you worked through a lot of that stuff in the last year.
Oh
It
yeah,
takes
I'm
a lot of
also
work.
that, and I can relate to everything that you say. Like for me, it feels like it was kind of like a hazy, kind of like weird, dark period of my life.
Like it-
But at
yeah,
the time that I was going through it, it felt like it was gonna last forever. And what
yeah,
actually ended happening to me personally is that my recovery, yeah, it's been 2 years, and it sounds like a lot, but the progress within those 2 years was so fast. I remember when I started
yeah,
the academy, I was at my worst, and 3 months later, I was taking the subway. Like that was insane at one point. And then 3 months later, I was ice skating at my local park. And then 9 months later, I was taking this 2.5 month trip with my mom. And now 2 years later, I'm back to working out. And for some people, that recovery process is even faster. I think what happened with me is I was really scared of like taking the next step, taking the next step. So I was sort of like cautious and calculating
yeah, yeah,
how I wanted to trigger how like, I was in control of my recovery through what I learned from you. And for some people, it's even faster because some people are just more courageous. Some people have less fear in their nervous system, right? They're programmed differently. So recovery is going to look different for everyone, but it leads you to the same place, which is going back to your normal life, or in my case, having a better life, quality of life than before. So I would say you don't have to compare your recovery journey with anyone else's. And I would say, we were just talking about it before in starting the interview, most of the people that I still keep in contact with from the early days of the academy, they're doing great. And there are some of us who had long COVID, some of us, they had CFS for years and they are living their best lives. So this is all the same thing. It just had different names, and most of the peers that I had, the friends that I had in the academy, they are doing great too. So and
That's a really cool thing. Yeah. Like,
and we went in different speeds, different stages. Like some of us have had like some stronger APs or like going backwards a little bit and then moving forward. And some of us never had APs, strong APs anymore. So the recovery journey is just different. But as soon as you keep on implementing everything that you're taught in the academy or the program, you're just gonna be just fine. You're gonna be fine for sure.
and that's the really cool thing too, is that it would be a different experience if, you know, you were doing it all on your own, or just you and the coaches and we taught you this stuff and there were no group calls, no camaraderie with the other thrivers. Because when you think back to those times, you know, you were actually doing it with other people. There were other people on those calls. You become friends with them because every week you guys are meeting up
Yeah.
virtually, or we're talking about the wins, celebrating with each other. And then
Yeah.
you're seeing them get better. Sometimes they're in an AP and you're doing great, so you pull them up. Other times it's the other way around. And
I still
now,
talk to people who are in Sweden. I still talk to people who are in Australia, and I've never met them in person. And every time that we talk, it's like, "How are you doing? How's your life been going this past few months?" And they tell you their wins, and I tell them my wins, and we're just like really happy, like really excited for each other. And it feels like we're friends, but we never met each other because of the time that we spent in the academy was really helpful. I also think there's a time and a place. Like for the first few months, it was really helpful to talk about symptoms and share like your struggles with symptoms. And around month 4, 5, 6, when you're becoming more able to do more stuff, it becomes counterproductive. So you move to another stage. I think your program is like that right now, like it's separated. Once you make a lot of progress, you just have to stop talking about symptoms. For me, it was really triggering. And that was also something that I learned. And now I'm at a stage that I can talk about symptoms and it's not triggering anymore. So it's like you have to like go with the flow of what your nervous system is telling you that it works for you and what you need to do to keep on moving forward as well.
yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly why we created those calls, because back in the day, it was just the basic fundamentals calls,
Yeah.
which whether you're bedridden or you're semi-functional working part-time, you're on that call. And we were like, you know what? There's enough people in here now. We could separate that call. So there's the early stages like bedridden, couchbound, housebound, and then there's integrations,
Yeah,
which is semi-functional and functional. Because yeah, at some point the topics do change, right? And the topics won't be applicable to you if you're not bedridden or couchbound. Those topics can actually be almost like weights holding you back in
for
recovery,
sure. Yeah.
you know? Whereas talking about other types of topics, that's like pouring fuel on the fire and like jet fuel for that phase of recovery. And then now we even created a beyond recovery
Oh, yeah.
program, essentially, which
Yeah,
is no
which is more like
symptoms.
reintegration to like normal life. It's that what
Well,
it is.
that's actually even beyond that. That's like no symptoms, no flare ups. It's all about aligning, getting realigned with your values, finding what's fulfilling to you. Um, and that's the way, that's how you find something that is sustainable long term. Like, what do you truly love doing? Because, I mean, maybe you've experienced this too. Once you start reintegrating back into the world, you realize I don't want to go back to what I was doing before. I don't want to be the person. Like, I want to be the 2.0 version. Like, how do I
Yeah,
surpass that? So you kind of go into the world as this blank slate, and it's like, who do you
yeah.
want to be from here? What do you want
Yeah,
to
for
do?
sure. I can totally relate to that. That happened to me, and the way I explain it to people who have not gone through this experience, and I hope they never do because it's one of the most challenging ones.
Yes, it's tough.
The way I explain it is like, have you heard about near death experiences? Like when you are in a crash accident or wherever, and people are almost dead for a few seconds, and then they come back to life, and their whole perspective changes and they want to be better. They want to be a better person. They want to switch careers. That's exactly what happened to me, even though I wasn't in a car accident. But it was sort of like that. It was really enlightening in a way. And I used to work in tech. I was a web designer, a UX designer. I worked in corporate for like before long COVID, before for 8 years probably. I was a really high achiever, overachiever person. I thrive in like working, working, working. um and now I'm just like that I couldn't go back to that career. I wasn't
Yeah.
connected to that. I want to help people. Right now currently I'm working in retail, but the place that I work at is completely aligned to my principles, and I want to move forward to helping people. So I'm getting ready, I'm studying, I'm like preparing myself to be able to coach people maybe, right? So I'm like
Mhm.
completely shifting my career because of this experience, and it's actually making me happier than I was before. I thought I was happy though. I was never miserable, but I want to live a life with more purpose
Yeah.
and to be able to like help people that are going through hard stuff like we did, right? And it's just like your life changes so much, and part of that was understanding how your mindset works and how you want to achieve things and how you have to keep your mind in check to be able to achieve that. And all of that I learned through your program, I think. It was
Mhm.
really simple principles that I still carry with me. And I'm like, I'm not responding well, or I could do this, or I could respond to this in this way. And I still apply it to my normal life, things that I learned through your program. So I think they were really helpful because they were really simple. That's
Mhm.
what I say. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I could feel the thriving energy just coming off you. It's always so cool to reconnect with thrivers and yeah, having friends all over the world who have experienced a similar thing that were in there with in the trenches with you. It's kind of like, back in the trench warfare days, the soldiers, they had no idea who each other were from different towns, but they were in that same trench together, going through the same stuff. They're just trying to survive, trying to get out of there. And at the end of it, you make lifelong friends because no one will ever understand what it was like being in those trenches other
Yeah.
than those people who were there. So that's why we're so excited to start doing more Thriver meetups, all around the world. The goal is someday do it in multiple different continents every year, like one in Australia. We're doing one in Europe actually in
Yeah,
September.
I heard that you did one. I think it was last year, maybe last summer, or
Yeah,
yeah,
last year it was very impromptu,
yeah, in
the summer
Germany,
of
I think. Yeah,
2024. Yeah, I went to 4 cities in Germany, but now we actually announced it, and there's over 50 people who have RSVP'd to come to Portugal, but we wanna do a North American one too.
yeah,
So
that would be
we're
great.
gonna
Yeah.
do we're definitely gonna do that probably, springtime of 2026. But, for where you're at right now, do you have anything exciting coming up? Any adventures, anything you're working on or looking forward to?
Well, I'm looking forward to keep on like progressing in my rock climbing. I'm really getting into that. What I found is like rock climbing is really mental as well, and a lot of things that
Very
I
cognitive.
learned
Yeah.
a lot of things that I learned in your program are applicable in this rock climbing. So I'm training a lot more. I'm going on a outdoor rock climbing trip soon to Niagara, to Niagara Falls. Um,
Ooh, that's fun.
yeah, I'm looking forward to start coaching probably next year. I'm like taking some courses, I'm learning. I'm also getting a certification in breathwork, which we didn't talk about the tools. And I know you guys have like different recommendations for people in your program. For me, breathwork was one of the main tools that helped me like regulate my nervous system throughout the whole recovery process. It's something that I still use, not every single day. Like it's not something that I have to do to be healthy. It's just something that I learned to use to like kind
Yeah.
of regulate my nervous system when I feel like it's going off balance. um,
Yeah, to, like, stabilize it, right? Well, I'd
it's,
love to hear if you wanna touch on it really quickly, like, what was the exercise? Is it a particular exercise you did?
no, so I've learned through your program and all the research that I did on my own as well. I've learned how the nervous system works, and one of the easiest way to access or communicate with your nervous system is your breath, right? And it's something really simple because it's something that we all can do. And I started noticing, like, when I tried something new, something that I was out of my reach or my activity levels or stress levels that I could take, I would get symptoms. And then I would come back home and sit for 10, 20 minutes, do my breathing exercises to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, like the branch of the nervous system that it's about calming and balancing your nervous system. And I would do these exercises for 10, 20 minutes, and my symptoms will start to disappear. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting. So I can try new things, trigger symptoms, and then calm my nervous system, just learn to speak the language of my nervous system through my breath and regulate the response that I have. And this is what I've been doing actually. Like every time that I trigger, every time that my nervous system is going like, ah, symptoms, I'll just do my breath work, communicate with it, just like, okay, everything's fine, and everything goes back to normal. So the exercises that I do are not crazy. Like they're not some complicated pranayama or ancient techniques. They're just like basic box breathing, rectangle breathing. Like it's not something complicated, but I do with a lot of meditations, and I learned how it works for me specifically, and I still do it to this day. I have to say, people tend to think, oh, you're only healthy because you have to keep this habit of like doing breath work 30 minutes a day, every day, as soon as you wake up. And I'm like, no, it's
Yeah.
not like that at all. I just live
Yeah.
my regular life. And then when I start feeling like my nervous system is not completely balanced, I use this tool. It's just a tool. It's not something that I rely on to keep my health. It's something that is just there, and it's helpful, and it's available for me. Another thing that I'm looking for is my certification in yoga. It was another
Ooh,
great tool for me, especially yin yoga, which is a branch
it's
of yoga.
calm, right?
Yeah, it's
Calm.
mostly like stretching. So
Yeah.
it's another super easy way to communicate with your nervous system through your body, just like relaxing and stretching your body. It's another tool that I've learned how to use for my nervous system specifically. So I'm looking forward to that. Like I'm definitely moving towards somatic exercises, information, all of this neuroscience based. Of course, I'm a big science believer, so I research. I do a lot of research about this topic. So I'm looking forward for those certifications, and then I'm not really sure, but I want to help people with that. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. I don't know, potential survivor coach down the road, as
Yeah,
we
that would be
grow.
great. Imagine that would be like a whole full circle moment.
That's usually how it works, that's usually how it works. The thrivers, they were crushing it. They do great. They go out on their own. They live life. There's a little bit of separation from the whole illness. And then they're like, I know all this stuff. I would love to help people. And then they come back and yeah, we'll
Yeah,
see. We'll see.
yeah, we'll see. I'm definitely moving towards that, and I feel like a lot of people are in need of this.
Oh yeah. A lot.
Not necessarily people that have CFS or that have long COVID, just regular people who are dealing with a lot of anxiety and a lot of issues of the nervous system, and they don't know it's nervous system. And now you have this complete new awareness and information about the nervous system, how it works because of this program and what you went through, that you really want to get it out there and like help people. Sometimes I feel like I want to shake people, like, I know what's wrong with you. It's your
Yeah.
nervous.
See it all the time
You
too.
just need to relax and respond well to what's happening. But most of them, they don't get it.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Well, I feel like we could chat here all day. This
Yeah,
has been
forever.
so much fun. But the people watching this right now, I know they're still dealing with some symptoms. And any last things you want to say to them, or words of encouragement or words of hope you would have liked to give to yourself when you were in the trenches of this stuff?
I guess I will tell them the same thing that I told myself, was just like surrender. People out there are saying this is possible. It's not a cult, it's not some secret science. It's out there. You even give out the information for free. And I always tell this, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but there are other people like you that recover from this, and they also have the information. So you go the way you want to go, but there are
Yeah.
people saying this, and it's real. Like, not everyone can just like tell the same story with the same process of recovery. It's just impossible that we're all just lying and want to make money out of this. Like, I'm not making money out of this. I just want to share this. So when I was at my worst, I was like, okay, go with the evidence. There are a lot of people from different parts of the world that say it's the nervous system and they recovered. So I just have to figure out how I'm gonna make it work for me. And that's how I started. When I started, I wasn't able to read or write. So I was making my partner read me recovery stories. And when I was in moments of doubt, because doubt is a symptom, you are always doubting that you are going to recover. You're always having these intrusive thoughts of like, this is not real. I'm stuck here forever. Uh, what they're telling me is not the truth. Every time I will doubt my process, or I will doubt what I was learning from you guys, I will force myself to read or watch a recovery story. So that was actually part of my recovery in the early stages where symptoms were so bad and I was housebound. I would have to manually reprogram my brain through recovery stories. So go for that. Never lose hope, and just figure out what it's going to work for you, and just follow the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, people are here like holding the candle for you, telling you it's possible.
Yes.
Just follow the light and you will go through it.
Yeah.
And the recovery stories are fundamental for this. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, such powerful words. And that's the biggest one. That's the biggest one I tell people too, is that recovery is possible. If there's hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of people all around the world recovering, let alone the people you don't see online that just move on with life and don't really share their story. If they can do it, and some of them really, really rough cases, my case was pretty rough. I was hospitalized. If they can do it, we're not superheroes. We're not alien. We're humans. I'm a human. You're a human, Maria. And we're just like regular people. We just happen to follow a certain process because science is science. It should
Exactly.
work. It may take longer though. It may happen really quickly, but ultimately the fundamentals remain the same. It's like 1 + 2 = 3. 1 + 1 = 2. You drop an apple, the laws of gravity say it will go towards the ground. Oh, with this stuff, you do certain things and you don't even have to do it perfectly, but you do a bunch of this stuff correctly, you're going to see massive results and eventually you get to thriving health. So it's actually quite simple. It does take hard work though and a lot of consistency, but it is actually simpler than most people realize and
Yeah,
requires a lot of
I
patience.
would always say to people, it's simple, but it's not easy. And I think this is something that you always say. I think I got it from you. Like, it's simple, but it's not easy. And you're not going to have a fun time or a good time probably during the first few months. But as soon as you start noticing you're making progress, that it's your fuel to keep on moving forward.
Yes.
And yes, you're going to have symptoms, and some old symptoms are going to come back. And in different stages, you will have different symptoms and different APs, but it's going to get easier and easier and easier until you don't remember how that happened. Or I don't even remember my specific symptoms, and
Me
it's
too.
a weird one. Yeah.
Yeah. Until I look at the paper and because I've said it so many times in YouTube videos, that's the only reason I remember. But there were so many, and my brain kind of just blocked out that period.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, it's so cool to see you out there and thriving and continuing to reach your potential. You know,
For
so
sure. Thank you so much for this, Faith. Like, I really wanted to share my story. I was waiting for the moment that I felt like it was right. Like, I didn't want to deceive people. I didn't want to like lie to people. Like, I still get APs and I'm fully recovered, but I still get this symptom. Like, at this moment in my life, I feel like I'm back 100% and more to my regular life. So I feel completely recovered, if that's something that I want to say. Like, you can say, I feel like I'm thriving and I feel like I'm more grounded than ever. And you guys have hope. This is real. Like, recovery is possible.
amazing, amazing. Well, Maria, This was an awesome chat. It was so much fun catching up and hearing what you've been up to as well, and you sharing all these golden nuggets. So thank you so much. I'm sure people learned a lot from this one. So for you guys watching this right now, just comment down below what was your biggest takeaway from this video, from anything Maria shared. She shared a lot of different things. And always remember that you are a thriver and you are just one mind shift away from living a life with thriving health. There's unlimited potential inside the human body. You know, these recovery stories you see on this channel, it doesn't just stop there. That's really the beginning point. That's the plane about to take off the runway where people are going to go out there and continue to improve and just get better and better and live their best lives. So this is an example of that, and you guys are going to see so many more of these videos on the channel. But appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys in the next video. Maria, thank you so much.
Let's say that CFS recovery is absolutely the real deal.
I actually felt like somebody had an answer, like somebody explained what was going on, and it all clicked.